What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Soul Hoops channel. My name is Jeffrey, and I'm joined by Matthias. Today, we are going to be talking a little bit second round playoff stuff. Draft lottery was this week. We're going to be talking about that. And then we're going to do a little quick lottery mock draft just to talk about some of those guys since, our early best fits before we really start to dig into anybody's kind of points of emphasis later down in the draft season. But before we get into any basketball, as always, Matthias, how are we doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm home for about a month, so
Yep.
it's nice and relaxing. Take a breath. Been applying for some jobs because I'm trying not to go back to school, if I'm being completely honest. But other than that, I don't know. I'm just enjoying it and then going back. Got summer camps, and then I'm there until school, which is gonna be tough, but it'll be fun. Pullman in the summer isn't the
best. Every college
isn't the most entertaining time. It's bad.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad you're doing good. Well, let's get right into the playoff talk, I guess. So the day recording this 5/18. Hopefully I can get this episode up to tomorrow or something. OKC Denver wrapped up today, game 7. So we got that. So the second round's complete. Each conference finals on both sides are set. We got Timberwolves, OKC, and then we got Knicks, Pacers in the East. Do you want to talk about any? Do you want to start with Game 7 just because it's for OKC and Denver?
Yeah, I think that's fresh. Yeah,
sure. I know we've been talking about it a little bit together in passing, but I do think there's been a huge disparity on how people are talking about this series and the referees and the impact that a lot of these non-basketball factors have been playing into this series. And it's kind of disappointing to me because I feel like I never felt like when I was watching these games that the refs or the level of physicality variance from game to game or anything like that was the reason that any one team was winning and or losing. I felt like that maybe it played into some of the swings in some of the games, but I felt like in every game that I watched, there was a clear player or group of players or that showed up and showed out for that team in that game. I never felt like, wow, this team is just getting absolutely hosed either way, stuff like that.
No.
So I don't know. But game 7 was obviously kind of it was started off all right. Denver got off to that early lead. Christian Braun was playing really well. They were just getting out, moving. Obviously, Aaron Gordon's kind of the storyline going into the game with his injury. And then in the second quarter, I forgot their interim coach's name. They went
Adelman.
Adelman. They went to a non-Jokic, non-Murray lineup in a game 7 in the second quarter. And this was at the beginning of the second, very beginning of the second quarter, I think. And the end of the first quarter, I think, ended on a 6-0 run. So not really anything crazy. That 6-0 run turned into a 14-0 run. And then they checked in Jokic and Murray back. And then it was an 18-2 run or something like that. And then it just got out of hand. OKC started just pretty much doing whatever they wanted. The defense, you can see why this is the number 1 ranked defense, one of the best by defensive rating, at least by one of the best defenses of all time. And I think you just saw that. I think I tweeted out game 4 or 5, maybe. And I said, OKC created so much offense throughout this season off of those turnovers, disparity, and their defense into offense in transition. I was like, okay, well, if that's not going to play out for them, then they have to be able to execute their half-court stuff better, which they were struggling to do. And then in this game, obviously, it just came to fruition. The turnovers. Yeah, I mean, I was in the end of second quarter, I think there was 3, I think at halftime, I'm pretty sure Denver had like 13 turnovers to OKC's like 2 or something like that. I would have to go back and look at the actual numbers, but it was a huge disparity.
But there was also like a couple possessions where I felt like Denver almost overcommitted on offensive rebounds in the second quarter. Like J-Dub's breakaway dunk was, I'm pretty sure, off of an offensive rebound or off of a defensive rebound, but nobody was back. They just caught it. It was out of a cannon, and it was a 1-0. And I don't know how that's possible.
Well,
like, how do you have that as a breakdown?
I think
in the playoffs,
in the first couple games of this series, I don't know if you noticed this, but I think that they kind of Denver made the adjustment that they kind of realized I think this is a Jokic thing too. Like they kind of realized like we don't have the defense to keep up with their defense. So we have to play at a high end offensive level and we need to create as many offensive opportunities as we can. And I think I think that their plan was the way that we can overcompensate for the defensive gap between these two teams is by creating a ton more offensive possessions. Because if I create more possessions, that defensive rating, although it might stay good, I'm getting extra possessions to make, other shots, which obviously is a goal every game for a team. But if that's your focus, it's very similar to that Knicks team last year. Just like, our defense is not good enough to keep up with an all-time defense or an all-time offense. So we have to create all those extra opportunities to be able to make up for that. And I think Jokic started to crash the boards a lot harder on the offensive glass as the series went on. And I think that at the end of the day, they were living with the extra possessions that OKC was getting in transition because OKC was struggling so much in the half court. But if OKC isn't struggling in the half court, you have to make the adjustment not to just allow those rebounds. It doesn't really, creating those extra opportunities gets negated when you're giving up so many transition
but you can
points.
Still go for offensive rebounds and send 3 or send 4, but sending all 5 is crazy. I think that's way over commitment. And I also feel like the zone did work, but they needed to switch up that look every once in a while. I don't think they switched it up enough.
Yeah. I think another part of that, though, is just
they adapted too much.
Denver's auxiliary pieces outside of Murray and Aaron Gordon this series just were having so much struggles on offense that really they were just like, the only positive I'm giving right now is crashing the glass. And I don't know, but that's also something that Denver has had problems with is like it's weird because it's a Jokic team and he seems to get everyone on the same page so often, but I think there's times when the role players just get lost in when the answers aren't being provided to them by Jokic or Murray.
Yes.
And I think that's where they can get scattered. And that's why I think they're always in clutch games, giving up runs and giving up leads and stuff like that. So
as much as it's weird to say because Jokic is so hyper efficient, his best partners are always gunslingers. Think of Jamal Murray. He's either I feel like he kind of is the basketball version of a gunslinger. He needs guys that can get it off quick, be a scoring threat, but that Brown is really good. Really good. I actually really like him, and I think he played well. But
yeah, he had a really good first quarter.
I think
he
attacked Chet on the wing really well, and I think they should have attacked Chet on the wing a lot more. They've kind of kept trying.
Chet looks so out of it. I don't know.
They kept trying to hit that Jokic mismatch, and I honestly felt like it wasn't working. At that point,
I don't think it was either.
At that point, you got to they're doubling, tripling, just collapsing so hard and putting so much pressure, face guarding, and with help over top. It's just Adelman needed to switch it up and attack Chet on the wing because I think that worked really well because Chet looked slow out on the wing, and I think that's how you beat OKC is that you get Chet on the wing.
Yeah,
because I don't think Ihar is a good enough rim protector.
For context, obviously, we're talking about the offensive rebound disparity. 15 offensive rebounds for both the Thunder and the Nuggets in this game, but the turnover differential obviously was the turning point, and statistically 22 for Denver and 9-9.
22.
Yeah. And a lot of these turnovers were just like entry passes to Jokic in the high post and stuff like that. And it's unfortunate because I think a lot of the issues with that is you want to get them posted up lower so they can't trap as easier. So you're giving more up shooting, but
yeah,
it doesn't work because OKC was fine letting MPJ shoot in this series. I mean, it's very obvious, like his shoulders was completely cooked this entire series.
Yeah.
And even then with Brown, even if Brown's playing well, he's still not a good enough shooter where you're like, I can't leave him, you know? When you got Russ out there, Russ has not been shooting well this series. He played excellent in the Clipper series, has not been playing well this series.
And Jokic is so valuable up top when they can run those split actions. But when you have no shooting threat other than MPJ and Murray, but like they were hitting, so there's like a little bit of a different different approach you can have defensively when you're okay with them shooting or okay with late contesting. Or I think OKC was. So then it led to just uncomfortably lengthed post ups with just a lot of pressure and collapsing defense with Jokic and or just like their sets just, I don't know, I kind of felt like nothing in a way, which is kind of weird with Denver because I felt like their offense is always like with a purpose, especially with Jokic. But and credit to OKC. I don't think it's just
I was
it's not just like Denver forgot to play offense.
On OKC's side, I mean, OKC has such a clear identity on the defensive end, and it just creates so many problems. And they pretty much dare you to be as physical as they are with you. Because I've said this for years, like the best way to play defense in the NBA is to be as physical as possible and force the refs to, like, you're as a team, collectively as a team, because if it's only one guy on your team, it doesn't work because they'll get singled out. But if your whole team is as physical as possible with everybody every night, they're not following out everybody. They're not calling 60 fouls on your entire rotation.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, and I would sit there. All right, you want to shoot? I will happily give up an extra 7 free throws for an extra 5 turnovers.
Yeah.
Especially as good of a transition team as OKC is. You know what I mean?
And there's ways to be like physical and pesky without fouling necessarily every time too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people see
physicality and just say that they're being fouled.
And they also see people selling contact.
Yeah.
And the refs not calling in the playoffs. So it's like Jokic was doing that weird like dive into them and people were like, that's a foul. And I'm like,
not really.
No.
Yeah, I mean, refs are not going to reward that in the playoffs for sure.
It's the same way. I really think the hook should be a offensive foul unless you're actually going up to go for a shot.
Yeah. Well,
when it's off ball, no, you have to actually be in the. I think it has to be in the motion.
Yeah.
Because if you're going up and you hook them, their hands in the cookie jar. But this is like trapping it, and then you go up.
Well, it's like the same thing as like guys when their arms are out, and then like a dude will like do like the swim clamp onto their hip, and then like it's not really it's not really their fault that they were in illegal guarding position. You clamp their arm down and then swam through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really interested to see how this defense translates in this Wolves series, because I just think that obviously they're gonna test Ant's playmaking, and he's been trusting his passing and trusting his teammates a lot more in the series against the Warriors. He had long stretches of games where he was not shooting well. And I think it's good that he's been doing that, but you're going to have to be so sound. No lazy passes.
I have a real feeling that Rudy Gobert's hands are going to get tested.
Oh, yeah. They're going
to. And I don't think Rudy's going to get. I don't want to say like he's going to get played off the floor or anything, but with how quick OKC is with their hands and in the lanes and stuff, Jokic was struggling with it.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah,
I think Gobert's going to have a nightmare offensive in the paint, and I think it's going to make Anthony Edwards have to make those secondary reads of like skip passes. And I think that's the next step for his playmaking. He showed that he can pass out the double, like split the double, like hit the short roll. He's improved his pick and roll playmaking. But the next is like, I think OKC is really going to test if he can hit that skip pass.
Yeah.
And if they're gonna test if they can get there in time and contest in the corner, because realistically, they're gonna be okay with what a Jaden McDaniels spot up corner 3 with a late contest.
Yeah,
I think OKC is gonna be okay with that.
I think probably the most important player, honestly, for that is gonna be Naz Reid. Really, being able to come in, and if he can come in and hit shots at the level that we've seen him in playoff games and playoff series before, I have a lot more trust in that offense flowing, because you can run a lot of that, reversing, getting in off ball screens, just getting those guys open, and Naz Reid has such a quick release too for a big that it's just, he might be able to punish those gaps that get left when they are testing lanes. If the guards like Mike Conley and Ant can, limit the sloppy passes and create good opportunities there. And you're just going to need your corner guys. Like, you got to create opportunities for your corner guys. And like Nah and Jaden McDaniels are going to have to be able to punish those guys. And Jaden McDaniels is going to need to be able to punish closeouts, which he's been doing all year. But he needs to continue to be able to do that.
But against one of the best defenses ever. It's just different. But okay, they split the series. Minnesota, I think, won the point differential. So it's not like it's a clear OKC like mismatch or anything. Yeah. I think Minnesota matches up really well. I think Naz Reid, like you said, can come in. And I think another wrinkle he can add is pushing the pace off a rebound and not letting OKC be able to establish their offense.
Yeah, I think
that'll be key. And I think Rudy Gobert won't get played off the floor. I just think they'll want to be pushing the pace a lot.
Yeah, I do think it'll be. I think the easiest way to keep for Minnesota defensively, I think they really need to look at how Denver was able to just clog up driving lanes for non-Shea guys like J-Dub, like like obviously their role player guys like Kaysen and Caruso and all those guys, like being able to just clog that up. And J-Dub really struggled finishing at the rim in this series against a non-good rim protector and Jokic. So if you can create, block off those walls, you could test OKC's 3-point shooting more, which, if there is one thing about Rudy Gobert, he will be able to do that. I do think he'll be able to.
And some of those little like short corner dunker spot lobs.
Yeah.
I think he'll disrupt those. That'll be a lot harder pass.
Yeah. It's going to be harder for Hartenstein to get into his little baseline floater, type.
I'm a Gobert. I'm letting him take that all day, every day over the lobs. I'm sorry. It has been a terrible shot.
This playoffs? Yeah, I know. Yeah. He's not been hitting it at the same rate that he was already.
The baseline floater is just not a good shot. I know he's really good at floaters, but like at this point, just like, dude.
Just don't shoot the ball.
Oh,
swing the rock. Swing it to the next guy.
Or you have a step. It's like
yeah, no, I agree. I definitely know what you mean. I would be testing him. Like, and also it's like, if I'm the Wolves, I don't think you can beat me off of Hartenstein baseline floaters. I'll give it up. I'll give it up 15 times a game.
But those Chet Hartenstein dunker spot lobs were brutal.
I think Minnesota though is definitely more equipped to be able to have the personnel to mitigate those double big lineups, because the reason that OKC's double big lineups were able to cause problems for Denver is because they have no real backup five. They can't go to a real, like, Aaron Gordon's a true power forward, but he's not a
no, he's not
big
he's not a center
power forward. You know what I mean? Yeah, like he plays like fake five for them. But I think that's more just like Denver having a shitty ass team construction than it is like if Aaron Gordon played for any other team, are you like, yeah, like we can go to him as a backup five regularly? Probably not. You know,
no, just occasionally when you wanted to go small ball.
Yeah, we're talking about the other second round series, which was Minnesota and Golden State. Obviously, after Curry's injury, I kind of tuned out of this series a lot. I would catch some games, but after Curry's injury, I kind of knew it was about to happen. Like, I didn't think Jimmy was really going to do it. I do think an interesting storyline coming out of that is after Kuminga got back into the rotation, him playing well. But I really still am like, I feel like at this point in Kuminga's career, he kind of is who he's shown himself to be. I think
don't like Kuminga's process, though.
No, he has really bad process. He plays
really. I hate the way he's a disruptor. Like, he played good, but he just does not fit the Golden State system at all.
I'm very curious. I'm very curious to see who offers him a contract. I don't know who has money this offseason or who is like would be interested in having him as like a sign and trade guy. But like, I'm curious to see
Jeremy Grant's replacement.
Yeah, okay. another
Jeremy Grant for Kuminga and
that'd be good. I think I on the Warriors side of that though, obviously Curry's injury really caused a problem. I've seen some Warriors fans and I've seen some people say that they think that Golden State was gonna win no matter what if Curry played. I disagree. I had the Wolves in that series.
Yeah, I had Wolves in 6.
Yeah, and it ended in 5.
Yeah, gentlemen's sweep.
Underrated is just how good Minnesota's been. Even like just being able to hold and rebound back from like bad stretches and quarters and stuff. Like Julius Randle, man, shout out. I was not a fan. I thought he was either going to get traded at the deadline or like just easily walk in free agency, like decline his option and just leave. And like a sign and trade. It's like a bad team that wanted to give him another bag, but it's working out for him.
The ups and downs of Julius Randle's playoff career, dude.
Yeah, I know.
Every other year, it's like it's a coin flip.
Yeah,
but hey, a tiebreaker. I still think, like, I don't necessarily think the Timberwolves are like a better team than they were last year, but I do think that Julius Randle trade was also a win at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
a lateral win.
I do think like
makes sense.
One thing like we always talked about last year with the Timberwolves, their flexibility has gone up so much. They're going to be able to retain so many guys. Well, I'll say with that trade though, like I wasn't really a fan of it, but I understood the thought process on it. Like the real reason that the Timberwolves were so good last year was that Cat started playing more like a true power forward. And really, like, I believe Cat's a better player than Julius. But if Julius is playing at a level, a good enough level, I don't think that the gap there is big enough to mitigate like a $30 million a year contract.
The money was huge, and it allows you to get role players like Dante that's been really, really, really good for them. Overall, they've just been clicking, I feel like, for the last few months.
Yeah. Shout out to Chris Finch. Great coach.
Oh, my God. I cannot believe anybody would ever not like that man. I think
a couple guys.
It's very realistic that the Wolves win in this next series. The whole thing.
I hope they do.
I'm serious.
I'm rooting for them.
They're really good. I think I don't want to downplay what they did to the Warriors, obviously, because gentlemen swept them with Jimmy and Draymond. They made their defense look like a joke.
Yeah.
And
they made their offense look like a joke too. Obviously,
yeah, but without Steph,
no Curry, but still, it's
without Steph, that's a little less. I was expecting just more like a defensive step from the
I thought
Warriors.
that they would really buy into that, and they kind of just fell apart.
Yeah, they could not stop them, and I think you said earlier that OKC is going to be a good test for Anthony Edwards' playmaking. I also think the Wolves' offense is going to test the hell out of OKC's defense. Like, I would not be surprised if they really struggle to stop the Wolves.
Yeah. I mean, especially if the Wolves can really, like you were saying, testing Rudy Gobert's hands, but I think that can be mitigated because like Rudy is still big enough to be like a lob threat, even though he's older now and doesn't still have that athleticism. He can still be a putback guy at the very minimum. Like you're gonna have to be sound on the board. Like Hartenstein is gonna have.
Oh,
to
he'll still put pressure on offense. It's just like that pick and roll dump off for a little like lob. I don't think it's gonna be there like it was against the Warriors, or they've been able to have. Like OKC's got Chet Hartenstein, and like Hartenstein, I know, but Chet can really defend that. And obviously they're all digging in from help side and collapsing. So it's like that dump off, that little bounce really isn't going to be there. Like I said, like they were struggling to enter into Jokic, who has some of the best hands of any center ever. They're going to test Rudy. But Rudy, I think, is going to, like you said, I think you're correct, put pressure on the offensive rebounds. And I think he's going to create a lot of extra possessions.
Yeah.
Like I'm already seeing the tip rebounds out to like just a walk-in.
And that's what we were talking about earlier with like the, Denver trying to, prioritize those offensive rebounds to create extra possessions. Like I do think the Wolves are in a better place to be able to force those, and I do think
they can do it without.
And the Wolves have way more defenders to throw at Shea. Like you're gonna have to keep rotating through good defenders the entire time. Like there will not be a weaker link guy on the court. Like for that. So and also there's not as many guys you can go mismatch hunting.
No.
Like you might try to mismatch hunt Rudy, but I still wouldn't do that. I'm not seeking out a Rudy Gobert.
I think OKC needs to stop the ISO bullshit.
Yeah, they don't have a good enough shot creator outside of Shea to play ISO ball that often. They need to continue. The way to get through the Wolves defense is reversing court with the ball repeatedly, moving the ball and forcing it into areas that Rudy like. It's really the thing with that is you want to get Minnesota in rotation because that's obviously to put the stress on any defense. You want to get Minnesota in rotation. And then off of that, your goal is I need to get Rudy Gobert far enough away from the basket.
Yeah,
contesting outside shots or needing to help on drives so that I can create opportunities for Chet and Hartenstein, like you were saying, with those dunker spot lobs, short corner, action that they like to get into as their non-Shea or non-J-Dub drives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm interested.
I think you're 100% correct, and I think that's also the same way, in a way, that Minnesota can beat OKC's defense. Because if you look, Denver did a solid job at it, but a lot of times whenever Chet or Hartenstein were put in off-ball actions, they got completely distracted on help. And I think you saw even in the fast break on the buzzer beater, even on a couple, just like throughout the whole series, fast break possessions, defensive possessions are just full of Chet and Hartenstein, and even sometimes, like honestly, all of them except for Caruso and Kaysen and Lou Dort, honestly, that I can think of. Shea's had a couple, J-Dub's had a couple. They get distracted. And I think that's what you need. You need them to be worried about these off-ball screens or these off-ball cuts, because then it just eases up the two-man game.
Yeah.
And if whatever offense stagnates, I think is going to lose. Because once you stagnate, it just becomes so easy to collapse, especially with all these defenders that both these teams have. With this length and the athleticism, like, you're not going to be able to do that. Like, you couldn't do it against Denver. I doubt you're going to do it against T-Wolves, personally.
Yeah. No, I agree. Okay, let's flop over to the East then. Earlier this week, obviously, what was it? Or Friday? There was no games on yesterday. Friday, Knicks finished off the series against the Celtics. Obviously Tatum towards Achilles, prayers up. Same thing for Dame, prayers up for that injury. Saw that in person. The Dame thing, it was horrible. I was like, I paid like $500 to watch my franchise point guard tear his Achilles. I sat there in silence, like I was just staring.
Oh, it's over at that point.
Well, yeah, I just knew, and I was just like, and I'm walking back. I gotta walk like 2 miles back to my car. I'm just walking. I'm like, this is fucking horrible.
It's just brutal.
Yeah, but with the Knicks, Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since '99, which was also against the Pacers. Interesting enough.
That.
Yeah, I'm pretty, because that's
cool.
Isn't that the Reggie Miller like choking?
Oh God, is
thing?
it?
I think.
I'm pretty sure. Maybe I don't know for sure. That's awesome though if it is. But no, the Knicks, they look good. I think Macau is showing his worth. I've been a Macau believer all year. I think he showed his worth this series a lot, and I think they're clicking at the right time. Brunson obviously huge. Had that buzzer beater game winner with the ankle breaker in round 1, I believe.
Yeah.
Or was that in round 2? I can't remember, but
yeah. I was correct.
They've just been firing.
99 conference finals.
Yeah. I think the Knicks.
Wait.
I really don't have much to say about the Knicks other than they just look goddamn good. I think they just look like that they did to start the season, in terms of they look like they're obviously one of the better teams in the NBA. I think it really just depends on their I know it's so hard to bet on, but Cat, he's got to be consistent on that 3-pointer, and I think that's huge. And Macau, they all settle for a lot of jumpers, so it's really what side of the jumper are they going to get? And right now it's hitting, so I think.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think I think that they've been really, really good, but I'm just worried that they've been so up and down all regular season. Like, I'm favoring the Pacers, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would definitely favor the Pacers in this series. I haven't looked at any like odds or anything for like who's favored, which I really don't care about. But I usually like to see, just because that's usually like a good indication of how other people feel about the series. The Pacers have been the most consistently good team so far in the playoffs out of everyone. I mean, obviously they beat the Bucks in the first round very handily. I wasn't really surprised by that. I was saying the Bucks were gonna be a first round exit since like February, January. So like I wasn't really that surprised by that. And then I was very surprised, even with the injuries to the Cavs, which we can talk about that series obviously, but like even with the injuries to the Cavs, like I thought that Cleveland would be able to scrap together games, but going down 0-2 at home in the first 2 games is just.
There was one worry I had with the Cavs, is that they had been in so many clutch games, and they come on the right. They came out on the right side at such a high rate, and then as soon as Darius Garland went down, he was my clutch player of the year, obviously, 50, 45, 88 in the clutch. Most responsible for the most clutch
Didn't
wins.
Ant get it?
Second most
Even though
clutch
he
in
was
the
like
leagues.
actually really shit in the clutch, but he just scored a lot of points.
He was a finalist, but I think Brunson ended up getting it. I can't remember. Maybe I
think Ant won it. I think Ant won it. But I remember because Minnesota fans were like, they do not know. They do not know.
But once he went down, like it really did not surprise me that Cleveland didn't come out in the clutch. But also it's just like natural regression, like you said. It's just so hard.
It was Brunson.
Which is honestly a fair pick, but I think Garner should.
No, I thought it was Ant, but
it's so hard to come out in those clutch games at all times. And also another where I posted a tweet about it, but it was like the Pacers were +3, like a 3.6 per 100 possessions versus the Cavs in their regular season matchups. So it's like
the Pacers are a good team, dude. Like after Halliburton got over whatever the hell was going on with him through January, like they were pretty much neck and neck with any other team, and they were being good teams. Like the Bucks had a really good record after their really bad start, but they were like
still middle of the pack.
They were like 12 against top 3 seeds, like overall, and like, but Pacers were beating everybody after they got healthy, and now Nembhard is playing back to the level he was playing at last year and the last playoffs. And you just have so many answers when things aren't going awry. Like they really do have, like when people talk about like having a really deep team.
Oh yeah.
The Pacers. It's the Pacers.
They have one of my favorite rosters in the league, man.
Yeah, I mean, they just have a bunch of really good players that like can just do a lot of things. Like TJ McConnell can do a lot of things that Nembhard can do, and those skill sets overlap. But Nembhard is, if he's going off, like if he's playing at a level that he's playing at right now, he's up there with literally any offensive option in the playoffs, other than like the tier 1 guys, obviously. You know, like he's not like the level of Brunson, SGA. You know what I mean? But like, I literally any other guy, if he's playing at the level he's playing at, is just that. And then Aaron Nesmith.
He's been awesome.
He's just been so good. He guards the other team's best player almost every night. He's such a good shooter. Yeah, he hits his shots. He plays physical. He doesn't back down from challenges, which is really good. And they just have so many guys that they can have so many answers for. And then when it comes to bigs, like they've been getting decent minutes out of like Thomas Bryant, and like Miles Turner has just been a crazy shooter. I mean, it's just insane how well he stretches the floor for them. And obviously Tyrese, I do troll a little bit on Twitter, but like genuinely, he does not put up a lot of shots, but he controls the pace of the game for the Pacers. Every touch, he makes well.
I feel like
he knocks down open shots, and he doesn't force things that aren't there. I mean, would I like him to shoot a goddamn layup when he has a wide open, like when there's a help side defender coming? Yes. Stop doing that. He does this thing where he like
kicks it out every time.
He like jumps and then he like whips it, tries to like spin and like whip it, or I don't fucking know. Pisses me off. I was like, okay, whatever. But
a little too pass heavy. But his handprint is on like almost every offensive possession.
Yeah.
He's getting hockey assists so much. But the one thing I really was trying to tell people coming into this playoffs with teams like the Cavs and the Thunder, when everyone was like, these teams are so good.
Mm-hmm.
The NBA is getting less and less like easy to calculate with like the triangular theory, or with whatever is what it is in boxing. It's a lot more like boxing now in the playoffs, where matchups matter. Matchups matter badly. And for instance, the Cavs-Indiana series, that's a bad matchup for the Cavs. And it was obvious in the regular season. I think Denver and Minnesota is a bad matchup for OKC. You look at the regular season, that was two of their closest teams in terms of games and overall like ratings and stuff like that. So it's like a lot of people just assume the Cavs were so much better than everyone else. But it's like, no, they just beat worse teams by a lot.
Yeah.
And against Indiana was better against them. Like Indiana is straight up a really good team.
Yeah.
And I think Pascal Siakam has been really good.
Yeah, I mean,
And I
he
think
had
he
some games in the Cavs series where he didn't play
stays
well, but
being underrated.
yeah, when
I think overall he
he
made
plays
Mobley and Jared Allen look pretty adequate.
well, yeah, I agree. I think, but what I would say for Pascal is even when he's not, his bad games is like he doesn't overcomplicate his game too much. Like, so when his bad games aren't necessarily bad games, it's just he just doesn't force things. And with, like we were saying, with they have so many different answers, he doesn't need to force things. So then when he's
And,
on, it just adds another level that their
yeah.
offense gets taken to. And he's still a good defender.
And he's willing to like sacrifice a roll for a game or two, and
Yeah.
just like if he's struggling, just pick and short roll or pick and pop, and like get other guys into it. And then like if other guys are struggling, he'll try to turn it back on. And I think that's exactly how he needs to play. I think that's perfect, and I think that's kind of an underrated tool that a lot of these Pacers players have, is the ability to just like they're egoless.
Yeah.
And I think you watch them play basketball, it's just like zip, 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 bucket. Like I swear it's some of the most beautiful basketball in terms of just like the ball is always hot and it's always moving, and they get such high efficient looks almost every possession.
Yeah.
And it's so weird because people hate Halliburton, and I think it's just like, and I also love that they don't necessarily always slow it down in the playoffs. There's this notion that you have to slow it down. And I think unless you are slowed down, don't slow down. If you're a fast break team, like I think OKC kind of figured that out later in the series. It's just like, if you're going to slow down and just ISO, what's the point?
Yeah.
Go. You're good. You're athletic. You're quick. That's when you're at your best. Indiana's great at that. And I think they're going to run the Knicks out of the gym. Personally.
Yeah. I mean, and the problem is there's so many guys on Indiana that can put pressure on the rim, and not in a way that affects like a star can, but they're so good at creating pressure on the rim and just creating open, easy shots. It doesn't have to be a complicated thing. Like it doesn't have to be an ISO, but just attacking closeouts, attacking. They like to shoot threes, but they will, if you will close out lazy and they can tell that you're flat footed closing out, they will attack your weak side hip that you're turning to close out, and they'll drive. And even if help comes, then they're just going to swing it open again. Then they'll take the three.
A lot
They don't
of
get
them
rushed in possessions.
A lot of them can read closeouts really well.
Yeah.
And it's just effortless. It's effortless pressure is what it is.
Yeah.
Because it's just like a lot of NBA players aren't that fundamental with their closeouts. So it's, if you get them in rotation and you have high IQ players that are able to just read them, it creates really easy offense.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would not be surprised. From the Knicks side, I am worried about like you were saying, how consistent their offense can be, because I think I've tweeted it, like quote tweeted my own tweet like 4 times so far this playoffs, but like Knicks offense with when Brunson isn't hitting every shot is just very disgusting process to watch a lot. Knicks fans obviously very happy they made the East Conference Finals, but I would assume this means Tibbs is not replaced this offseason. And I know a lot of them are ready for that to be done with, just because of how limited his
offensive skill set is.
Looks. Yeah, and so I'm intrigued. I'm interested to see how that goes. We'll see.
I think it'll go 6 or 7. I have Indy in 6. I think saying run him out the gym is a little over exaggerating, but I'm going to go Indian 6 or 7. Like,
yeah,
I would not be shocked if it goes 7.
I don't know. I would probably lean Indy, but I think this is a 7-game series either way. There's going to be too many heroics. Like New York just finds a way to win games. Like they just find a way to scrape back, to create runs.
The defense?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, Mitchell Robinson's been insane on the defensive end in the second round. They really have been struggling this year without him. But the whole Hack-a-Mitch thing does create a little bit of a problem. I don't know if Indy's willing to be that unethical, but they should.
But then what you do is that you immediately just get Brunson a switch.
Yeah.
And because they're not going to do, once they rack up a few fouls, it's like, then it's like, oh, you have a couple guys with a few fouls. Brunson can just switch them and hunt them. And then it becomes actually dangerous. And I think, I think this series is going to be really close. I think I'll settle actually with Indy in 7. I think it's going to be, like you said, a really back and forth series.
Yeah.
But I love Indy, the way they play basketball. So I'm gonna go for them.
Yeah, I think I might go. I'll probably say Indy in 7, but I would not be surprised if it's Knicks in 7 either, like at all. Like I really do think it's kind of a toss-up series, even if it only goes 6. Like we say only, I always think it's so funny when we say only 6, but it's like
6 is still like a great series. Like losing,
Yeah.
I hate when people act like that's like you got dominated. It's like no.
Yeah,
I would say great series.
I would say probably. I think if Indy wins it, it's gonna be Indy in 6. I think if it's New York, I think it's New York in 7. I think if he goes 7 games,
New York's got it.
Yeah, I just think that they have. That's just the type of environment that type of team is made up for, and I'm kind of enjoying. I don't know. I think the Knicks energy is kind of fun, even though their fan bases are kind of
I love the Knicks.
crazy.
I've been a big Knicks guy all year. It's just like Indy looks really good.
Yeah, no,
I want Josh Hart to win a ring. If the Knicks end up winning it all, I will be the happiest. Portland legend. Drop the Barack Obama.
That's so funny. God, Portland used to just do shit, man. They did anything other than actually like make a winning move, bro. They used to get any role player other than like actual ones.
It was the best
we're gonna get tier 3. We're gonna get tier 3 role players the entire time.
The best we could get without getting rid of CJ McCollum every offseason. That's what we did.
That's funny. Okay, well, that gets into, I think, conference finals preview / second round, those teams. I will say we didn't really talk about them, but like Boston, like with this Tatum injury and how Kristaps looked and them talking about shedding contracts. It might be a rough season ahead for the Boston Celtics, man. Like, and I don't know if you saw the report yesterday. Jaylen Brown might have a torn meniscus.
Yeah, he's playing on a torn meniscus.
Well, yeah, or like partially torn at least. So I'm interested to see where that goes. So we'll see what happens there. But with that being said, I think we can talk a little bit about this draft lottery that happened on Monday, scheduled for 7 p.m. Eastern time. I turned on my TV at like 7:05. I was like, I assumed like 5 minutes of like introductions or whatever.
Yeah,
they had a countdown for fucking like 18 minutes at 7, dude. I was like, I was like, what is going? Well, they had to get they had Shams up there, talking about Giannis trade requests at the lottery. So that was why they had him up there for 15 minutes. But either way,
I hate that guy. I hate that guy so much
too, because Chris Haynes is so unserious, bro. Sometimes
I like Chris Haynes a lot more. He's so unserious, but he's a lot more.
Yeah, no, but like he's like not like as connected. So like he doesn't like drop like real like news.
Yeah.
Like unless it's a Giannis or Dame thing now, I just don't care what he has.
Dude, Shams just lies all the time.
Yeah,
I swear to God, half the shit he does is not even real.
Okay, so getting into the lottery here. So picks 14 through 1 for anyone who's watching that doesn't know that. But pick 14 went to the Spurs via Atlanta. Then we had Atlanta via Kings, which is very funny because Atlanta got a better pick than they would have had. And then we got Bulls at 12, which did you know that the Bulls lost the same record coin flip
With the Mavs?
Yeah. Yeah. Which is funny because you want to know what the 1 game difference would be? It would be that giddy, like 70-foot heave. What, like, if he didn't make that, they would have
worth it.
No, yeah, for sure. Like, it's a great game. But I remember I was watching Kenny Beecham's video about the lottery, and he's like, yeah, like that was a great game, and I was loving like that energy. But like, he's like, now I look back at him, like I wish he fucking clanked that off at the then Portland at 11, forever stuck in middle of nowhere land. Rockets 10 via Phoenix. I have a feeling somebody else will be using that first round pick, possibly Phoenix again. Raptors at 9, which they fell 2 spots. So the Rockets went down a spot. Portland went down a spot. Brooklyn at 8, they fell 2 spots.
Yeah,
very unfortunate for Brooklyn fans because I feel like they needed to jump more than anyone. Pelicans down 3 spots at 7. Feel worse for these next 2 teams. Wizards down 4 spots at 6, and then Jazz down 4 spots at 5. That really sucks. That really sucks.
Fuck the Jazz.
Yeah, well, that's
they did my boys Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert so dirty. Not really.
What's their GM's name? Danny Ainge.
Yeah,
he's getting punished for the rest. He's getting punished for the rest of the earth. He sold his soul for that fucking Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett fucking Nets trade. Nothing ever. No one. He's never being reported for. He's never being like fucking rewarded for shit after that.
I don't know. He's been really good, and like I think he'll get there, but I just haven't loved their.
They need a guy so bad. They have like no one.
I really don't.
I don't like their. Cody Williams is already looks like just.
I think
I didn't like him last year. They drafted bro.
This season, I liked him at first.
I did not. I was
he
not.
He fell down my board. He fell down my board as
I wouldn't have taken him top 10.
No, probably not.
I would. There's plenty of guys that went after him that I liked better. I liked Matas better.
Oh my god, Matas was like so high on my board. I cannot believe people were calling him unathletic and
from Indiana. I'm blanking on his name. The center for the Heat. I'm completely blanking on his name. Yeah, I would like to wear better. I was a lot higher on him. I low-key kind of like, if I was going to take a bet on a wing too, I kind of like Jacoby Walter better too. I'm not going to lie. I would have probably taken him at the end of the lottery, early teens, but either way.
Yeah.
And then we got Hornets down 1 spot at 4, and then Sixers up 2 at 3, Spurs up 6 at number 2, and then the story of the week. Dallas Mavericks jumped from 10 to 1 or 11.
Dallas got both Page and Cooper.
Yeah.
Doubt.
Yes, exactly. So yeah. How we feeling? I really didn't want Coop. I didn't even think of him as an option. I really wanted Coop.
I hate it because the Blazers were
the Wizards.
You know what they released? They released the lottery numbers that came out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there were 1 number.
1 digit away for the second time.
For Wemby, right? You were 1.
Yes, Wemby and Coop now 1 digit away. Both the Wizards and Blazers sandwiched the winner team in both the Wemby and the Cooper fight.
Well, as soon as they announced Portland at 11, it just meant that
the Mavs,
because that the Mavs were a top 4, and that just completely fucked all those bottom teams. I know.
They're
just waiting for whoever got picked at 6. They just knew that it was over. They just knew it was over.
I was just hoping because the Blazers were just like, we have to get past 10 and then we're in the top 4.
Yeah,
the Mavs need to get past 11. We need to get past 10, and I just like, come on, why can't they bless us a little bit, man?
Yeah,
but I don't think it'll be that bad. I think people are kind of overreacting to how bad it is.
I'm just not really a fan of this. Like, obviously, for like the next year or 2. It's gonna be really good. Like AD, hopefully Kai gets healthy and AD comes back, and they have Coop and they got all these auxiliary pieces. But like they're really weak on draft capital. Like they don't have a ton of young guys developing.
I just think of when
the long-term fit
got to Boston, but worse version.
Exactly. Yeah, but with no draft assets and
But I think they can get. I think they'll by the time they'll need the draft assets. Like really,
I would not be surprised.
I think Kyrie and Clay will still be like a play-in-ish team, which will give them like I don't know. I think they'll be fine until they really, really need the draft assets because they're not tied up for that long, right? Just a couple years.
Yeah, like draft asset wise.
Yeah,
I don't think they have like any picks. I can look. Let me look.
But like Spurs at 2 is good.
I mean, they have the
Sixers
same number
at 3 is great.
They have their first next year, but they don't have their 27. OKC they don't have 28, and then they have the Lakers pick in 29. Okay, actually, they got their decent amount of picks. They have swamps.
Yeah, I think they'll be okay.
They have swamps.
Right, let's get into this. Let's get into this mock. I say.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm ready to do this.
Yeah, here, let me get in here.
I've been doing them a couple. I've tweeted it a couple times, but
yeah.
I don't know how to feel about this draft overall, if I'm being completely honest.
Just give me 1 second.
And I don't know if it's because I've watched a lot more college basketball than ever this year, so maybe I just have but I feel like that would help me make more decisive decisions. But this draft, I'm just stumped. Like, I'm really not loving too many of these guys, if I'm being completely honest. I think last year's draft, outside the top pick, was a lot deeper.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about it off air, but.
Okay. So we are here on the Fanspo mock draft simulator. I'm using the no ceilings big board.
Okay.
So no ceilings big board, true draft order, obviously. So we take a look at we were talking about those auxiliary pieces. Interesting. I'm interested to see how long Kyrie's out. Obviously, he tore his ACL, so I'm guessing he'll be out until December, January, probably. Yeah. But I think we can probably chalk this up. Cooper Flagg has been the consensus number 1 pick for 2 years since he was a 17-year-old or 17, 16. So, okay. And then here's the Spurs. I do not think they're going to be making this pick. If Giannis becomes available. I don't personally believe that Giannis is going to become available. That's not hope.
I don't think that's realistic. I think they'll end up having to make this pick, personally.
Yeah, if Giannis becomes available, they will not be making this pick. Otherwise, they will be making this pick. The fit is not great, but I do think you have to go I am very against drafting for need or position this high in the draft.
Unless you are a team
that comparable talent.
Unless you're in the team in the lottery that just for instance, the Sixers, I don't mind them.
Well, yeah, because they have Embiid and Max.
You know what I mean? And they have Jerry McCain who showed he can be a guy, and even Paul George is still decent. So it's but no, I think you go Dylan Harper.
Yeah, Dylan Harper, big downhill guard. The fit's kind of weird with those 3 guys, but it just gives you a lot of answers in the guard position.
If anything, you move Fox.
So this is where this is where the draft starts for most guys.
Yeah.
we were talking a little bit before this show started, but can I sell you on one Knuppel at 3 or no?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. Not with the Sixers personally, because I think what they need is more of a forward passing hub that has room to blossom if they get rid of this current regime, with Embiid and Paul George once they go young with Maxey and McCain. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking more of if, depending how they view the board and what other people are going to do, trade down and get a Colin Murray Boyles or even a Noah Senge. That's what I would do personally. I think those guys give a wingy but playmaker feel that can play in the handoffs.
Different regime, but they have done a similar. They traded up for Markelle, so they have done a top 3 pick. Would you want to possibly? I mean, we can trade it if you want, or we can go straight up. I'm not too concerned.
But also, I think Ace Bailey is also a pretty realistic pick at the same time. I just think they don't have any like playmakers. Like I personally would go for someone who's a passer over just a scorer because then you run. I think with their issues you have on that roster stay the same. Like you're not fixing any of the holes.
Sure.
You could even go like Igor.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they probably go. I would say they probably go Bailey.
They probably do. I think that's pretty realistic.
I think they go Bailey just because I don't really care what Paul George is. He sucked. Like he was not good last year. You should not care about that fit. You're drafting long term here, so I could definitely. I think that this is definitely like one of Utah or the Wizards. I would not be surprised if they move up to 3.
Yeah,
to try to get whoever
he answers some defensive questions, but I just think they got too many scores.
Sure.
But I would go Ace Bailey if we're I think that's what I'm expecting them to do.
Yeah, I would definitely think that it's going to be Ace. I'm not the biggest Ace fan, but I can see.
Land in the middle, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not like a hater, but I'm not. I think he has some bag Twitter people that are really behind him. Charlotte here. So obviously, I think this might be a Moloch team.
Yep, I agree.
Because even though they have Mark Williams, they tried to trade him, or they took an offer, failed his physical.
Yeah, I think it's a Moloch team.
Yeah,
the lob threat with the potential pop, like he just fits perfect. Their centers,
and he's a much better defender.
And Mark Williams is solid, but you really don't want. You need a pairing.
Yeah.
Like if you're in the modern NBA, you need a good, really good big, at least defensive big, and that's what Moloch can scale to, hopefully.
Yeah. So here at number 5, you took a project wing last year in Cody Williams. I'm not a big fan of that pick. I don't think he's going to be. I wouldn't really regard that. I would say you have one of two things. You could go a guy. Do you go for a guy like Derek Queen and try to bet on him becoming an outlier for his size? Or do you take another project, shoot for the stars, where you try to find that guy in like VJ?
And VJ adds like a rim pressure that they really don't have.
Yeah. Well, because you're probably. I do think
there's a pretty good chance
there's a good chance you're trading Colin Sexton.
Yeah, you could also go like a Jeremiah Fears because he shows a lot of pick and roll manipulation potential. And if you're going to shoot for the stars on a guard, I think he's one of the guys you do it with. Or they might even go Igor. They only have one first-round pick, right?
They have the 21st. They have Minis pick.
Yeah, Igor's not going to be available to them. I wouldn't be surprised if they reach on Igor. I think
I like Fears a lot.
I like Fears. I also wouldn't be surprised if
I
like
think
like you said, I think they're
like
going
they drafted
to
Collier
pick the guy who has the highest swing potential, and I think that it really is just between Edgecombe, Queen,
or Fears
or Igor, because he is a BYU kid. So I also really like Trey Johnson. I don't love his fit in Utah personally, but I really like him as a prospect. Like I have him. High on my board.
I think it could. I think it's a wing league. I think they would go Edgecombe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the biggest upside swings. I don't mind that.
Yeah, I think they go Edgecombe. He's just young. He's got size, athleticism.
He showed he can play at a high level in the Olympics.
Yeah. I think this is Fears at 6.
You think so?
Yeah. I think it's Fears, or you try to draft Trey Johnson and hope he develops into a like Devin Booker type guard.
You just gotta think. This is Washington, right? You got Bub, you got Jordan Poole, you have Keyshawn, you got Bilal, and you got Sar.
What do they lack? Like, let's look at it that way. What are they lacking in this core? Playmaking, real guard play. Long
Yeah.
term. So that's why I think it's Fears. Like you could bet on his development as a passer at the point guard position.
Yeah, and his pick and roll play.
Yeah. I mean, pick and roll, getting a good pick and roll guard is.
Or is it Queen and you use Jordan Poole and off-ball sets like he was used in Golden State with a bunch of handoffs, and you bet on his upside as a playmaker, and you use Alex Sarr's rim protection and help ability to mask his defensive lapses. I think those are the two. I think
it's Fears or Queen.
I think it's Fears or Queen as well. I personally think they could also go Casper. I think I'm not high on him.
Yeah, I'm not high on him.
Wait, scroll down a little. They could also go like Rasheer Fleming, Carter Bryant. I think it's Sar with another French guy. I'm fine with Fears.
I think it's Fears, but the thing with Queen is like I think at it like this: if you have to answer a lot of questions about him, is that the guy that you're? Again, they need to find their guy, like their 1A guy. That's what they're like. Is Queen? Do you project Queen being able to do that?
No,
probably not. So I would definitely say Fears. Plus, like you might just get stuck with him being a tweener, and you just really don't have I don't know how that works. I don't know. I think it's Fears. I'm pretty high on Concanupple too. So I would.
Yeah, I'm low on. I see it, but I'm low on him the most.
But they just drafted a bunch of wings.
Yeah.
So
they need a guard or like a power forward, in my opinion. So I think Sar is really a center.
I agree. I think we go Fears.
Yeah.
Okay. This is another point guard needy team. Also need a big, more big depth, I guess. They also could probably use they need a real second option. I'm really high on Trey Murphy, but
yeah.
Do they have another bag talk type guy like Trey Johnson?
Trey Johnson or scroll down.
Concanupple kind of fits the mold of players that they've liked.
Yeah. Oh my God. What's keep scrolling. Keep scrolling.
This could be an Asenge team too.
Yeah, I think it's probably a reach. I have this guy super high on my big board. Keep going down. This guy from Stanford, the center. Oh yeah, he's down there. Maxine Raynaud.
Yeah.
I think it's a reach, obviously. But I wouldn't be surprised if someone reaches for him. He's a skilled center, shoot a little bit. Danny Wolf also is a guy I wouldn't be surprised if they go for. Just someone who's a stretchability at the center. If not though, I like Trey Johnson on this team, honestly.
I like Trey Johnson too. Kind of like the mold of like CJ McCollum, kind of like as like a wing. He's obviously bigger, but that like kind of combo.
This is a team that is hoping the Malik is dropping to them, is what it is.
Even though they just drafted a guy, but yeah.
But I think completely different prototype of player, and I think Malik actually could really fit next to Zion as like a stretch 5, but also not. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think Trey. Let's go Trey Johnson.
I'm fine with Trey.
Nets. I think this is another team where you might just be taking a bet. I think this could be a team that would like Trey Johnson.
Yeah, I think this is a Kasparis or a Carter Bryant or Rasheer Fleming or a Noah Senge.
I would like Noah Senge there.
Yeah. I
Like,
really like him.
I don't
He's
know.
someone
He's
I
really
would probably take at 3. Like, I don't know if I'd
he's
take
really
that, but
low on this board. I don't know how often this board gets,
updated, yeah.
Let's do a Senge.
A little bit like he's got a development curve, but I think in Brooklyn, he's going to be able to iron
He'll
it
have the
out.
opportunity.
Yeah. Like, I think he's someone that shows like he has NBA skills defensively.
Yeah.
And in the fast break, but he also has potential.
Is it Colin Murray Boyles? It just fits the stereotype. I feel like for the Raptors.
This is that's a Raptors guy so bad. Also, I think like Igor wouldn't surprise me because
this could be a Kasparis team too.
Yeah, Carter Bryant, another swing guy, or Rasheer Fleming. I would not be surprised if they reach on a Rasheer Fleming here. This is like a potential wing.
Asa Newell too, kind of like that. They've kind of been like the undersized athletic centers too. I kind of like the Asa Newell fit. That would be interesting.
That's another Raptors guy, but I'm not so high on him personally. But I would not be shocked if they take him.
I don't think they take a wing. Like you got Barrett, you got Ingram. You just traded for Ingram. You have Barrett.
But that's why I wouldn't be surprised if they go for an oversized guard because they're so in love with that oversized lineups that I wouldn't be surprised if they go for Igor or
like a Casper. Igor, I know it. They might buy into Point Scotty a little bit more.
What centers are there? They could also be like a Canopal team.
Yeah, just to get spacing.
Yeah,
I like the Canopal fit there.
I do too. I personally like that fit. I would not be shocked if they went with a more high swing wing.
I think it's that, or I think it could be Newell.
Yeah.
I think it's a big man or it's a shooting wing combo guard wing guy.
Yeah. Also, another team I wouldn't be surprised if they reach for Ryan Odd because he's like that shooting center.
Yeah.
Again, probably a little bit of a reach in terms of I think they'd only have 1 first-round pick, so I guess they're more set to reach than most. But
they have an early second though.
Yeah.
Let's go. I think you think it's big. You think they go big? Do you think they want a big, or you think they want a guard?
It's a center or a guard.
I mean, they did trade for Quickly and pay him like $170 million.
Yeah, so that's why I'm more inclined to go center.
You like the Newell fit?
So like
Newell fit, or do you think they reach?
I don't mind the Newell fit because he's kind of a multi-positional 4-5. That wouldn't shock me because he's listed as a power forward. I think technically.
I think he's listed as a center on here. Oh no, he's a power forward. This is a hard one. I never know what to think they're doing, dude. Because like center could become a need. Like,
well, we could think about skill set with it. They need playmaking, and they need rim protection. So let's think about that playmaking. Igor, Kasparis are probably the best playmakers on the board.
Yeah.
So those are probably.
Do they have any other guards other than Quickly on the roster?
Not really.
Point guards. I mean, no. I think it's Kasparis. He's oversized. He's multi-positional.
But I think I wouldn't be shocked if it's Igor because he's got that more transition ability personally. But
that's true.
I don't know, but Kasparis.
Igor's been rising a lot from what I hear.
Yeah, I don't know how much that is like translatable though, because there's always these combine tricksters. It's hard to filter them out though, because then there's also guys like
it's
Donovan
not too
Mitchell.
crazy. I mean, this is at 9, and he's listed 12 on a big.
I would be fine with Kasparis, Igor, either one. I'm fine with
Let's do
Kasparis though.
Kasparis. All right, let's do.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Rockets. I do believe that this pick will be in Phoenix if they trade KD.
But anyways,
otherwise,
what's the weakness here?
Shooting.
Knoepel. He's older. He come in. It's him or Clifford. Come in 3 and D guys. Or Knoepel, not really D, but like 3 guy.
I think Knoepel's got a pretty.
He got a little bit of D, but he's more of a offensive skill set. I agree.
I think he's got a well-rounded skill set there.
I like.
You could be losing Steven Adams.
Yeah.
As well.
Are there really any bruisers in this draft, though?
No. I think Knoepel. He's got a really well-rounded offensive skill set. Yeah.
And like, I think he can do a little more, but he's going to be best utilized as a movement shooter.
Portland, what are we thinking here, brother? I'll let you take.
I'm taking Rasheer Fleming.
Okay. I like Rasheer Fleming.
Jeremy Grant replacement.
Yeah. It gives you another wing as well. Like, and he has like a baseline skill set that I think could be really good. Like, you can put him in the corner, play defense. You know, like he can do basic stuff, which is kind of the mold that like Portland likes to draft guys. Like they have a baseline skill set, and that could be kind of a fun front court, you know, for the future with Donovan and Rasheer Fleming.
Yeah, with Tumani and Denny. Because I'm thinking I'm thinking. I mean, one of them obviously like Tumani like might come off the bench or whatever. Someone might come off the bench, but I'm really thinking the oversized wing lineup where one of them plays the 2 is just kind of realistic in the future, especially if you want to keep Scoot.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Let's do Rasheer Fleming. I think he's going around this range, and I like him a lot.
Yeah. Oh wait, have we drafted Asenge yet?
No.
Oh. In hindsight, I might have done him.
Wait, no, we might. Wait, hold on. Can I see the picks?
Maybe we scroll down.
Oh, yeah, we did. Nets.
Okay, never mind then.
Nets.
Yeah, I like that pick then.
Bulls. I could see this. Jesus. They have a ton of guards. I don't think you're drafting a guard. Derek Queen could be kind of fun. I get really worried about that defensively, though.
Carter Bryant replaced Patrick Williams with Patrick Williams 2.0. Let's see it. Let's see which one. Do we get Kawhi or do we get Patrick Williams again?
I could see Newell here, too.
Yep.
Just because athletic.
I'd be happy with, again, Max Reynaud right here. I've said it a bunch, but
or Igor
as well with a center. Igor wouldn't be bad, but that's another like I know he's more of a shooter, but that's another oversized playmaker. He's more of a guard play style. He's also got.
Well, I was looking. I mean, you have Lonzo, but like, you don't know how that's gonna go. I would not consider him. You have Kobe White. It really depends what happens with Giddey, I guess.
You could do Colin Murray Boyles.
Just a big defensive wing.
Defensive wing with some playmaking and driving potential. Fill some gaps.
I like that. Play in transition. Play fast.
Yeah.
I like that. Let's do Murray Boyles. Atlanta. Is this Newell?
This is Newell or oh my god. This is the guy from Georgetown, Sarbos or whatever. I can't remember his name. Or Reynaud. You taking a center.
I think it's Newell. And he's a Georgia kid. Georgia guy. Keep him home. Or, well, I don't know if he's from Georgia or not, but he went to Georgia.
because their forwards and their guards. Because you got Trey, you got Zach, you got Jalen Johnson. Who else they got? I'm missing somebody.
Like guard wise,
just like everyone else, I feel like their weakness is obviously center, right, and big.
Yeah, definitely playing the 5. I mean, they got Buffkin, who like had an injury this year, but I'm not really that. I would say big. They were playing Muhammad Gay and like Dominic Barlow down the stretch of this year. Yeah,
WSU legend.
I think it's Newell. I like Newell.
I like Newell as well.
Derek Queen is like, I don't think he's bad, but like he's just, I don't know
how. Queen at San Antonio.
You like that fit, really?
If there's one team that'll cover his weakness, it is Victor Wembanyama.
That's true. I get.
And they don't have I think they can allow him to play make and.
Yeah.
Sorry to be so demanding there. I just think that's.
I don't think he falls out of the lottery.
No, I think it's him. I think he fits with the Spurs, the Wizards, the Blazers.
Sorry, my cat just knocked something over. Just scared.
That's fine. Spurs, Wizards, and Blazers, I think, are his best fit because they have Klingon, Sarr, Wemby, young rim protectors that you can have him play the 4 and then maybe slide over at the 5 on bench lineups, right? Because I think where he was best in college is playing above the break, pressuring and switching on to ball handlers and pick and rolls and stuff. He was a good switch center, but he's got to lose weight. And I am shocked how unlaterally quick he was at the combine because on film, he moves his feet well. I was thinking he was going to come out and kind of like shock people with the fact that like he can move his feet well, but I don't know. There's a big question mark about him, so I think he slides, but I also love his game. Like he's one of my favorite prospects in this draft, but
he's a really unique player. I do think having Wemby behind him, of him being able to play the 4, and then when he plays back at 5, hopefully you invest in some shooting this offseason. I would, if Knuppel falls, they should go for a Knuppel.
Yeah. My thing is, the modern NBA dribble handoffs are so vital.
Yeah.
And I think Derek Queen as a dribble handoff center, as a hub, is so valuable, I think, potentially in the future. Even if he's just a guy that comes off the bench for you. If you have a guy that can run a dribble handoff off the bench efficiently and make passing decisions, that's so key. Like that makes life for Fox and all these downhill guys so much easier.
Yeah. Especially, hopefully he can translate like using, if he's going to be that slower guy, he definitely needs to buy into being able to set really hard screens and rolling.
Continue to rebound.
You can't be all finesse with him, but but I like a lot of these fits. I think the hardest pick is probably Raptors. I don't know what really direction they go. They might move off one of their wings, or they might get a guard or whatever. You never know.
And the one thing I'm looking at this board, like with the mocks, it's hard to put yourself in the mind of these franchises and what they're going to value. Because like, you know what I mean? Like you're trying to make decisions like best player available, but like at the same time, like for instance, I really like Trey Johnson, but I think you're not going to put him in a position to succeed as much as VJ Edgecombe in the Jazz, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like there's things like that affect overall outcomes that I think that these franchises at this point pay attention to, because best player available, if they don't fit in your system at all, is not best player available, because it's really just like, I think that's where the Warriors went wrong when they drafted Wiseman and Kuminga, is they went best player available, and neither of them are fit in that split action like movement offense
shooting
at all.
Yeah.
Like it was just like it's kind of like when they went after Chris Paul, it was just like play style wise, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But I don't know, that's all I have to say.
Yeah. No, I'm intrigued. I think the biggest swings here for guys that could rise, I think Asenge could end up as high as 3
I agree.
by the time this process is over. I do think Fleming, I think we kind of drafted him in the range, but I could definitely see him going higher as well.
I could see him going at 6.
Yeah.
I really like the idea of the Wizards getting a power forward, personally, because I like Poole, I like Bub, I like Keyshawn, I like Bilal.
Yeah.
But I do think that out of that, I think their forward right now is probably their weakest spot.
Yeah, for sure.
But Malik, I think, is also someone that could really fluctuate. I think Ace Bailey is someone I could see drop.
Yeah.
Colin Murray Boyles is someone also I would consider taking higher.
I could also see him. I could also see him falling though.
Yeah, overall, this draft is just like, it's really just like, I don't think there's a lot separating these guys outside of the top 2.
I agree. I think it's really just how you project, like how high you are on certain players' skill sets projecting into the next level.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up then for us.
Yep.
Good little episode here. Definitely going to be hopefully getting back onto this now that you're home. Schedule's kind of wind down. Hopefully we can get back on this a little bit more. Probably talk about Eastern Conference Finals maybe in a week or so, sometime next week. But
maybe do another mock as well.
Yeah, I'm going to start. I think at work, I'm going to start watching tape while I'm bored.
Did we ever post that Derek Queen video? I can't remember.
I have it edited, but I don't have it posted. Yeah. I should definitely post that though.
And then we have a Jeremiah Fears thing we got to film at some point. So with more draft stuff coming, but slowly but surely.
All right. Yeah. Yes. All right. Well, appreciate everyone who's made it this far into the video. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Keep an eye out for all of our future content, and peace.
Peace.